How are you both?
I'm
We're having a very nice time.
Good.
We're having a better time than you'd imagine.
Good, that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Probably lots of the same sort of questions.
Varied.
Varied, okay.
Full colour up.
It doesn't stay all the way up.
Yeah, that's it.
Look, it goes back down.
Goes back down straight away.
You
What
wanna skip a
attracted
collar.
you both to the script and the characters that you play?
I actually just liked the whole thing. I wasn't sure of what to think of it at first when I first read it, because I wasn't sure if it was a comedy or if it was. Even though I found it hilarious, it was also very black and dramatic, and actually at some points it's a real tragedy, like a Greek tragedy almost.
Yeah.
At some points they're a bit like a Western. It was really unique, and I just loved it, just the general thing, and then I love Thomas Hardy, and I love Far From the Madding Crowd, and I read the comic book of Tamara Drewe and fell in love with it. The kind of how she's updated it is kind of ingenious, really.
Yeah. And what about you, Tom?
Yeah, I didn't get it at all.
Really?
I mean, I literally read it and I kind of thought, I just could not understand what it was trying to say or what it was. But I knew that Stephen, who's one of my favourite directors ever, was interested in doing it. So then there was a big reading of it, and then suddenly you were like, now I mean, it shows how naive I am with still reading scripts and how difficult I find it to translate them from page to thought and to see the image of them, which he's such a genius at. But suddenly you heard all these wonderful, in-depth kind of almost caricatures of characters and people that you believed but were terribly funny, and it was a take on a society that you never ever get to see, very middle class England, living this idyllic, so-called idyllic lifestyle in the countryside that we're all meant to be kind of jealous of and think is perfect, and actually it's complete catastrophe, and it's deceitful, and it's full of lies, and there's a dark element to it. Everyone's treating each other appallingly, no one's treating each other in the way they want to be treated, and I found that all fascinating. You've got these young girls who are suddenly so excited and intrigued by stardom and fame and the glossy magazine that they've got, while their lives are so dull and inane. And then you have the span of them up to the older generation, and then you've got us who are kind of the adolescents or turning into mature adults who are behaving appallingly. You're shagging everyone in the village. And then the married couple are also... So it's many elements to it, none of which I saw at first as a script, which I'm a bit depressed about because I'm obviously completely thick. How long was I talking for then? 25 minutes?
I was actually thinking that's pretty good. A pretty big spiel.
Yeah.
Is there anything interesting in it?
Yeah, loads.
Lots of interesting things. And what was it like working with the two girls, with Jodie and Casey? They actually
They're amazing.
Because they're hysterical.
Yeah, I just was in awe of them, actually. Because they're just a comedy genius. You know, the timing, everything, the subtlety, particularly Charlotte, who plays Casey. Yeah. I just remember thinking, do you know how good you are? You know, and then when you watch the film, they really steal the show. I think they're really. I mean, it's brilliantly written, and they just got the best lines. But there's certain things that they do that are just, like the oh my god, the blinking thing, which I would never think to do that. I mean, it's just
Michael
genius.
Caine would hate that. Have you seen his
Michael
video?
Caine hates blinking, I know.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What was it like wearing the prosthetic nose? Was that a bit of a nightmare in makeup every day?
No,
not every day, but...
No, I think there were like 4 days where I wore it, and it was actually really funny. I loved it. It was quick to put on. It was like 15 minutes. Oh, okay. And, but yeah, it was a bit of a transformation, I hope. Dominic said that he quite liked it, though.
It's nice. Nothing like
Did you quite like the guy liner that you had to wear as well?
Yes.
Get a bit addicted to that.
Love that, yeah.
Any excuse.
Any excuse to
get it on. He had an excuse. So... yeah, no. Everyone looks great in this film. And some people are really transformed, like Tamsin, who just looks completely different in real life. And then, but the casting is genius, because if you look at the comic, everyone, apart from you and Tamsin...
Casting is genius.
No! Listen to the end part of the sentence.
Best line I've heard today.
End part of sentence. Look like the characters in the book. You don't look like the character in the book.
No.
And neither does Tamsin. But everybody else does. Everybody else looks like the character in the book.
Yeah.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, well...
What was it like filming the sex scenes? Was it embarrassing?
No, I loved it.
Did you get giggly over it, or was it like...
I absolutely relish in those, and I really look forward to those days.
Yeah. That's the best answer I've ever heard about that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a day in bed.
Actually, it is a day. It's a day in bed.
Best possible day you can have.
Yeah, it's a day in bed.
People doing everything around you, just lie there. Occasionally, you have to make it look as though you're having... What's it called?
A good time.
Hanky Panky.
Hanky Panky, sugar and spice made all the... What was that? Georgie Porgy Pigeon and Pie.
Dominic and Gemma, welcome to my film.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you both here.
Lovely to be here.
What I really loved about Tamara Drewe was that the fact that nearly all the characters are flawed, but even though they're flawed, you really identify with them. Was that an attraction to both of you taking on the roles?
Absolutely. I mean, for me it was particularly refreshing because it was a modern woman told by a modern woman. You know, Moira and Posey are both very modern, the writers, and it was honest, and it wasn't, even though it is glossy in a way, the film, because it's a film and it's, you know, a comedy, and there's something so brutally honest about it, and that's why it's funny as well, you know. What a dump. I suppose it's because it's based on a book that was so brilliant, and then a graphic novel, and then into a script, so there was so much material to draw from anyway.
Sure. And what about you, Dominic? Did you identify with Ben?
I hope not. Possibly, but I won't let on if I did. Yeah, no, he was a very interesting person to portray, and he's, I think the danger of being that you ended up disliking him because he was so idiotic, but I think his simplicity makes him quite endearing, really. You actually just feel sorry for him. You know, ultimately what you see is these people who look very, very happy, whose lives look very comfortable, is actually falling lies and deceit and falling to pieces, which I kind of love.
And that's what I loved about it. It is a comedy, but it has a real British sense of humour. It has a real bite, and it's quite unforgiving and quite dark in places.
Yeah, it gets blacker and blacker.
She's coming in to eat. I'm available.
You see all different stages of life in it, really, as well. You have these young girls who are so desperate with this one little tiny glossy magazine of what they think is a beautiful world outside of their village. We've all experienced that sort of loneliness and desperation to be thrilled by something other than our mundane lives.
Sticks. No, don't touch.
And you have the kind of adolescents or going into adulthood lost characters who are all just in absolute chaos, don't know who they are, and are kind of wreaking havoc and trying desperately to identify with themselves and who they are. And then you have the slightly older generation who are meant to be settled in their wonderful families, who are just falling to pieces and lying to each other even after however many years of marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes it sound a bit hopeless, but it's not, because I think it's the young girls, I think, that kind of give that hope, especially at the end. And they're funny.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
What was it like working with those two?
Well, they're newcomers, and I mean, they have worked on other things before, but this is, I suppose, the biggest roles today, and I just think they're real scene stealers.
Pom. Smells like men. Live the dream, Kate. Live the dream, Jones. It's boots.
I'd like to do Freddie Mercury next, or Michael Hutchins.
Yeah,
it'd be great. And it's such good fun as well, and they're such great characters to do.
We're lucky because as actors, because I feel like I'm a rock star trapped in an actress's body, but I'm just rubbish. But luckily, I might play a rock star one time, so I don't have to worry about writing music.
You are quite a rock star. You never let on how good you were at singing, till I had to get up there and do some dusty old wretched song.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think, you know, Kate Bush maybe in the future.
Kate Bush.
There are a few people, but they're still living, so I just think it's sort of weird playing someone that's still alive.
Because they get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
They're dead.
And if they're rock stars, they can be quite scary. Like if you play Courtney Love.
Who would you do?
I don't know. I really don't know. There's been Marianne Faithfull. There's this thing going around Marianne Faithfull, but I don't know. I love Kate Bush, and I reckon I could do a good Kate Bush impression as well. But she's still alive. Good.
She do Wuthering Heights?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. She did some amazing songs.